Hey, how many of you I don't know, when I was growing up, my family always watched game shows. Anybody watch a lot of game shows? Like Wheel of Fortune, okay, Jeopardy. We watched a lot of a show called Biggest Loser growing up. There's Survivor. There was a lot of things that I watched growing up. What kind of game shows do you guys watch? Family Feud, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Fear Factor. Can't believe that one's back. Deal or No Deal? Yeah, perfect. How many of you have ever seen Deal or No Deal? Okay. All right, so that show bothers me, and I'll tell you why. Because there's not really like skill to win. It's purely random. There's a bunch of briefcases, and you're picking ones at random, and depending on which one you pick, I mean, there might be a penny in there, there might be $1 million in there, right? It's a big difference, but you have no way of knowing. You're just randomly picking a case, and maybe you walk away with like $500,000, or maybe you walk away with no money at all. And I don't like those things that it's just completely random. And that's why I think when we talk about friendships, a lot of our friendships feel random, but I don't think they should be. Like when I say random, I think about a lot of our friendships formed without a lot of intentionality. Like I imagine none of you created like a survey or an application, and on your first day of school, you walked in with a bunch of papers, and you just started like passing them out, like, here you go, here you go, here you go, fill those out, see if you can qualify to be my best friend, right? Like none of you did that. You didn't hold interviews for your friends. You just have friends. And maybe you were forced to hang out. Maybe you just ended up in the same places all the time. Maybe they live next door to you and you have no control over that. But our friendships shouldn't be completely random because your friends shape you. There was a TV show years ago, and it was very short-lived, and probably for a good reason. It was called Hole in the Wall. Anybody ever heard of that? Oh, you got so pumped, y'all. So Hole in the Wall, the idea was this. There would be a giant foam board with a shaped cutout, and the shapes would change every round. The wall would start to move towards you, and you would have like 5 seconds to decide how you were going to try to fit through the hole. Otherwise, the wall was going to push you into a lake, okay? And so this wall would come at you, and you're trying to fit through this thing. But in the same way, you have friends who will shape you. You might hate a sport, but all your friends want to watch it. You're watching that sport. You might not want to do something, but all your friends want to do something. You're doing that thing. Your friends end up having a huge influence on you. And so through this series, we're trying to help you guys understand that God can help you choose your friends wisely. Like there's not, more than just random. We've got to be able to use wisdom when it comes to picking our friends. And so we're going to take a few minutes in tag groups, and then we'll keep going, and we'll come back to this. All right? Let's do it. Let's turn to our tag groups. So I want to talk to us about our friends and about what kind of friends we are. Because here's something that I believed was true for a long time that ended up not being true. I thought that if you called yourself somebody's friend, what that meant was that you would always be a good friend to them. I thought that if I called somebody my friend, then by default, I would always want to be a good friend to them. But as I grew up, I learned, number one, that just because somebody was my friend didn't mean that I always did what friends do. In fact, there were plenty of times that I can think about where even knowing what a friend should be, I didn't do that. The other side of it is there's a lot of times that we've surrounded ourselves with friends or people we call friends who aren't a good friend. And I want to talk to us today and kind of give us a definition of what it means from the Bible to be a good friend. And I want to look at a chapter in the Bible, just a couple of verses. It's Romans chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. And we're going to look at what this has to say about friendship. And here's what's really important. It's going to give us 3 things to do. 3 things that if you do them, you will be a good friend. It gives you 3 things that when you are looking at the friends that you have around you, you need to go, hey, do they have these things? If not, they might not be a good friend back to me. And they might be a little different than some of the characteristics that we normally look for in our friends. And that's why this is super important. So Romans 12, verse 9, it says this: don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. So I want to look at 3 parts of this. And the first one is this: that good friends love. Good friends care enough. They love each other. Now, Andrew pointed it out a couple of weeks ago that you can love your friends even if you don't normally say, I love you. That's fair. You don't have to tell your friends that you love them every day, like ending phone calls like, hey, I love you, man, so much. I love you so much. Okay, bye. Love you, right? You don't have to do that. That's not what we're talking about. But if you are to be a good friend, you do need to love your friends. You do need to care about them. And what I think is interesting is the Bible says, don't pretend to love. Because there's a lot of times that people pretend to love. Which makes me think of another game show, which is all about pretending, right? How many of you have ever heard of the show The Masked Singer? All right, so the idea of the show is they put people in these crazy costumes in which you cannot recognize them. And then they're forced to sing, and the judges are trying the whole show to guess whose voice is behind the mask. But what's interesting about this is that there's something real about them, but there's also something that they're hiding. There's something that they're pretending. There's something that they're putting on. Can I be honest with you guys? There are a lot of people who aren't good friends, but will pretend to be. There are a lot of people who aren't good friends, but will pretend to be. In fact, sometimes you can pretend to be a good friend. And sometimes we pretend to be a good friend because we're bored. And so we want to pretend to be a good friend so that we're not bored. Or we pretend to be a good friend because we're lonely and we don't want to be lonely. Or we pretend to be a good friend because we just want to have fun and we don't really care about anyone. But the Bible tells us, hey, in order to be a good friend, you have to care about your friends. I asked JVOX last service, like, hey, what does it look like to love your friends? And what I appreciated was one of the kids goes, I invite my friends to things. And I thought that was really great. Like it was him recognizing, hey, if I love my friends, I'm thoughtful. If I love my friends, I'm thinking about how they feel. I'm thinking about what it looks like to leave them out. I'm thinking about what they're going through at home. I'm thinking about some of these things that are happening in life. So friends love. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is friends do good. Friends do good. They encourage each other to do good. They help each other do good. The opposite is also true. Good friends keep you from doing the wrong things. Good friends don't laugh at you when you do the wrong things. Good friends don't bait you or bet you or tempt you or dare you to do the wrong things. That's not a good friend. In fact, going back to Romans 12, it says this: hate what is wrong. That's a strong word. But the Bible tells you to hate. Did you know that? The Bible tells you to hate what's wrong. And it tells you to hold tight to what is good. Y'all ever watch like American Ninja Warrior, or I think this show was called Ultimate Beastmaster? Did you ever see any of those? Where it's like all these physical things where people are like trying to like climb on like all these walls, and they're trying to hold tightly to this thing, because if they let go, everything falls, right? And what the Bible tells you to do is, in order to be a good friend, it tells you hold tightly to what is good. Here's what I mean. Hold tightly when your friends are like, hey, we should watch this movie even though your parents said you're not allowed to. And you're like, no. Holding tightly to what is good. Hold tightly to what is good when somebody starts to gossip about one of your other friends. And you're like, no, we're not going to do this. Hold tightly to what is good. When your friends are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so in trouble. I need you to lie to my parents for me. Nope. Hold tightly to what is good. Like you are hanging for your dear life. Right? That's what this said, friends. Friends do good. I know you think that a good friend is a friend who helps get you out of trouble. That is not true. It's not true. In fact, sometimes your friends allowing you to get in trouble is the cruelest thing they could, or keeping you from trouble, keeping you from getting punished, keeping you from doing what's good is the cruelest thing they could do to you. Isn't that wild? So the first thing is love your friends. The second thing is do good. And the third thing is this. Hey, Aiden, Daniel, will you guys put that down? Yeah, and just chill. Just chill. Thank you. The third thing is this. It says, delight in honoring each other. It says to honor. The Bible says to honor. Now, when I say honor, that might be a little bit confusing, because you're thinking, how do you honor your friends? Like maybe you honor your parents, or maybe you honor teachers, or maybe you honor. How do I honor my friends? But it's easier for me to think about dishonoring my friends. It's pretty easy to think about dishonoring. I've talked to a lot of JVOC students who really, really easily, when I say, hey, what does it look like to dishonor friends? They'll say, hey, you know what? My closest friends are the ones who make fun of me the most. Because they think we're just messing around, but my closest friends are the ones who hurt my feelings the most. My closest friends are the ones who call me names, who point out my weaknesses, who make me feel insecure. My closest friends are the ones who talk behind my back. My closest friends are the ones who say the meanest things. My closest friends are the ones who discourage me instead of encourage me. The Bible says, delight in honoring each other. Do you know what that means? That means that you should get excited when you see your friends win. You should be excited for your friends when they do well. You should be excited for your friends when they play hard, when they win, when they succeed, you should be excited to celebrate them. Now, this is really important, because I want to point out a big deal when it comes to guys, that guys often like to egg each other on in competition. Like, that's my favorite thing. Like, if I'm playing video games with my friend, I will try and egg him on. If I'm playing basketball with somebody, I'm not talking, I'm not running my mouth, I'm scared. Basketball is not my sport. But if we're playing something else, I want to egg my friends on. There's a difference between being competitive and being dishonoring. And let me tell you the difference. If you're competitive with your friends, you're actually encouraging them to play harder, better, faster, stronger. If you are bad-mouthing your friends and tearing them down so that they feel like they're worse than you, you're not being a good friend. And there's a difference between those. It's one thing to push your friends to greatness. It's another thing to point out their very biggest weaknesses. And the Bible says, hey, delight, get excited, be about honoring each other. That would be a good thing. So there's 3 things: love, do good, and honor. To be honest, we could keep going in Romans 12, or we could keep going in other parts of the Bible, and there's a ton of good things that would help you be a good friend. But I think I genuinely believe this, that if you were to just do those 3 things, it would make a huge difference in your friends and in you. If you were to do those 3 things, it would make a huge difference in how your friends interacted. It'd make a huge difference in how you lived. It would change how 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade completely feels. In fact, sometimes people come to me and they're like, man, I don't know. I don't really have any friends here. Or I don't know that I have anybody that's super close to me. And one of the things that is so interesting is I recognize that if they do those things, you become friendly. If you love people, you care about people, if you honor people, if you lead people to what's good, you become friendly. And people want to be your friend. If you flip that, if you don't care about people, if you dishonor people, if you lead people to get in trouble, guess what? You are going to find yourself quite often struggling to make friends. And so this is a super, super helpful way from the Bible to see what being a friend is all about.